Speaking of you and Jr. We're talking about the Greatest Royal Rumble, your trip to Saudi Arabia. But first, I
And
was
I should plug too the fact that I he called me this morning and I did his podcast. This is going to be dropping a little bit later on today, I think, as well. And so we talked about a few things on JR's podcast as well. So if you want to give that a listen, what's it called? The Ross Report, right?
Ross Report.
Ross Report.
Sauce.
No, we don't say that. He
Sauce.
says this.
Yeehaw!
There you go.
Well, I'm sure you had a lot of hee-haws because both you guys traveled on the same flight all the way to Saudi Arabia, I guess from Houston or from Germany, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, the man, we were together the whole time, and it was, I mean, thank goodness it was really good. I mean, I would have really hated to just be doing that trip by myself. I'd have been bored stiff. But yeah, I flew to what? Yeah, it would have been
Board stiff.
stop. That's when you join the Mile High Club if you get bored stiff. But anyway, I flew from Memphis to Houston, and that's where I met up with JR and also Booker T kind of flew along with us. But somehow me and JR were able to kind of finagle ourselves in seats next to each other, and Booker T was across the way. But Booker slept a lot on the flight. He was cool. He had some movies to watch and everything. But yeah, thank goodness for first class and business class, because that would have been unbelievable trip without that. I just do not see how people can make those kind of trips just sitting in a coach seat. Even though, I mean, it's just, you would just be so cramped and confined and not able to get up and down and do anything for so long. We flew to Houston, which I had to fly from Memphis to Houston backwards. That was a 2-hour flight. Then met up with JR. We got on a flight in Houston and flew to Frankfurt, Germany. And that was about a 10.5-hour flight over to Frankfurt. And then we got off the plane in Frankfurt and got on the plane to Saudi Arabia. And that was another almost 7-hour flight. And the crazy thing was, like, anybody that travels a lot, you hate airport security. But most of the places, like when I go out of the country, a lot of times you go to Canada or stuff like that, and security and customs and all that is horrible. It takes forever. They check everything about you, especially going in and out of Canada, back to the United States and everything. But it was so crazy. We flew from the United States to got off the plane in Frankfurt, Germany, and we were just walking around the airport. Nobody said anything to us, and we went out of security, and then went to another terminal, got on a little thing, and went to another terminal. Went like right through security, just so easy. Like going into Saudi Arabia and going into Germany, it was like a breeze. It was like no questions asked. Said, hey, go, there you go. And but then, man, coming back to the United States is crazy. We got pulled out of line, and coming back, we had to go from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, to Paris, and then Paris to Atlanta, and apparently it's just like something when you're a passenger coming from Saudi Arabia, they gave us like the triple security coming through when we got to Paris before we came on the flight to the United States. JR got so mad, this guy just grabbed his hat and was just crumpling it up.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, he said, and the guy didn't even speak any English, and JR is trying to tell him that's not the way you handle a hat. You don't do, blah blah blah. But the guy he didn't care.
Good God.
Good God is right. But no, traveling with JR was good. It was good company, and we made the flight go by pretty quick. Watched solid movies or TV shows. I watched about 9 episodes of the sitcom Mom. I love that show. Have you ever seen Mom?
It sounds. Who's in it?
I love the show, but I can't tell you the actress's name. It's it's the blonde-headed girl. She's just starring in the movie that's going to be coming out called Overboard. What is her name? Cute little girl.
I think
she just got divorced.
Oh, Anna Faris.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I watched a few episodes of that the other day.
It is so funny.
It's okay.
They're both her and her mom, who live together, are like recovering alcoholics, and they go to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings and that sort of stuff. But it was I like there's enough time. I just kept watching them back to back, all these episodes of Mom, and then I watched Thor. I watched the movie Thor. What other movie? Oh my gosh! Have you seen this guy? I'm trying to watch something on my screen. The guy next to me is watching the Kingsmen.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's good.
Did you see that movie?
Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah, those are
That
good.
was the weirdest movie. I didn't even know what it was. All of a sudden, I just kept looking over at his screen. I'm thinking, what in the world is this guy watching? And then I realized it was Kingsman. That was a weird movie, really weird.
So you're able to entertain yourself and have some buddies on your flights to Saudi Arabia. Well, the first selfie from JR, I noticed you're on your phone, and I was like, wow, the king is taking his phone. He's going to brave it out and take his phone to Saudi Arabia because we mentioned on the podcast you were kind of afraid to. But
did we tell everybody why I was afraid to? Or should I don't think we did.
We didn't come out and say it. We wanted to keep it somewhat PG. But I think you hinted towards why.
Well, I mean, that's one of the two things we did talk about, the fact that that they're very strict on in Saudi Arabia. You cannot bring any kind of illicit or illegal drugs into the country. I mean, if you're just a visitor, you could get the death penalty for bringing drugs or what was the other thing? Oh, pornography. And I'm not trying to make this sound bad, but I mean, just a picture of a female not completely clothed is pornography there.
Yeah.
I mean, and heck, you scroll through anything on the internet and you're liable to have, I've got people send me these funny videos and, just all sorts of stuff. Then I'm just thinking there could be anything on your phone. And I'm wondering if all of a sudden they take your phone away and go through and find a picture of a female with not clothed from head to toe, and all of a sudden say, "Oh, this is pornography. Off with your head." So I was worried, but that was never an issue. It was like never an issue at all. They treated the WWE talent like we were real kings and everything. They loved us over there. The people in Saudi Arabia, they were just as nice as they could be, as friendly as they could be, big fans, and it was like. Well, one of the things I was concerned about, we talked about, in the past, their treatment or the way that they did females in their country, they weren't allowed to drive or anything like that. But man, at the show, there were women, children, the families, it was a big, they were all at the show. I saw them in the restaurant. They weren't all, like all completely covered up in the burqas and all that stuff. It was, it was like I think they really want to be westernized, more so like we are here. And I think they're moving in that direction. I really do. The other thing is like their TV. I mean, beautiful, the hotel we stayed in, beautiful rooms. And I'm watching, watching their TV and it was crazy because, you'd heard so much and worried about how they treated people. But then, heck, they had MTV on and, girls dancing and singing and all of this kind of stuff, the Disney channels. And so I was watching some TV, CNN and all. I mean, they had a lot of stuff that was westernized like we are.
Well, that's interesting when you say that. And when the WWE ran a promo for like a show, and they showed some women wrestlers.
I did see that they did make an apology for that.
Yeah, the Sports Authority.
Well, I mean, I think that there are, that's a tradition or I think it's a religion type thing that's been there since the beginning of time, and it's hard to change those kind of things. And so, that's just the way that they've been accustomed to living from forever. And I don't know how that happened, that the commercial got into our show that had, that showed women wrestlers. And I'm sure that we had agreed not to do that, just to basically, show that we respected their ways and that sort of thing. But still, it did get shown, and they apologized, and WWE apologized for it. But there was no, I mean, I didn't a newspaper in English, and man, they just they treated the WWE like it was a Super Bowl here, the greatest thing ever to come to the country.
My favorite part of the crowd were the Sheiks ringside, the royal family ringside. Now, they didn't clap for anybody. They for a few. They clapped for a few guys, but it was amazing because like usually, the super fans, the marks, are in the first few rows, and they're trying to get themselves over with their jackets.
Oh no, none of that over there.
Not at all.
No, the entire floor of the stadium, which would have you could have put thousands and thousands of seats on the floor, which we do like for WrestleMania or something like that. The floor was empty with the exception of maybe a couple of hundred big plush easy chairs that most people would have in their den or something like that, right? That was a few of those ringside seats around the ring, and that the entire floor was reserved for the royal family. Their immediate family and relatives and all of that stuff. So that was what the floor of the whole stadium was about. And yeah, they reacted different, but there were some kids in the royal family and everything. They were all going crazy and that sort of thing. And it was because the floor was so empty. I just went out and watched about 80% of the show, just standing behind ringside in my whole gear and my crown and everything. And then of course it was like, it had to take 100 to maybe more than 100 selfies, but it was cool. It was just really neat to, and then stand there doing selfies. It was about, maybe, I don't know, and maybe half of the people, that came up and asked for a selfie spoke English. So it was fun just to interact with them. And there was a lot of security, man. They did a major security sweep of the entire stadium before the royal family got there. And as JR and I said, it was the first time that we ever had to pass through a metal detector and be wanded from the time you left the dressing room to go out to the announce position.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, you had to go through that every time you went out.
So I was watching the pre-show, obviously, because you're on it, and JR and Booker T. And, this is an hour before the show began, and right. And I sent you the screenshot while you're talking, but we talked about on the show was first you're kind of hesitant taking your phone over there, and second, we didn't know if you could be the king because of that's going to disrespect the royal family. Well, not only do you take your phone, but here's Jerry the King Lawler, as Jerry the King Lawler, wearing his crown, wearing the jacket, and behind you. And I'm not sure if that was like the royal family security or
he was. Yeah, I think he was definitely a security guy.
And here's this very tall man looking at you, staring you down through a hole in the back of your head. And I sent you the screenshot, and I'll post it to our. Well, I think I did post it to our Twitter.
But we need to do it again though. Now that people know what we're talking about.
And you're talking, and you kind of have the look on your face like you're like, oh. But the guy in the background is like staring right at you.
Oh, I had no clue that he was back there until I got that picture from you. If I had known that he was standing that close behind me and just staring a hole through me like that, I would have been nervous. But no, I didn't know it. But still, though, man, they couldn't have treated us any better. And the fans were. They got a big. When I first went out there in my whole King outfit, big cheer, and then they got the Jerry chant going like the Jerry Springer deal. It was cool. It was just like doing a show anywhere in the United States.
So no problem being the king.
No, they loved it.
That's awesome. Well, that's good. Yeah. So the Sheiks ringside were great because as like I said, the marks that sit there for regular shows are like clapping for anybody or. Being overzealous or over exuberant for certain wrestlers. And here comes John Cena, and the guy sitting in the first row is like, yeah, okay, John Cena, who cares? Not even clapping, or he's on his phone, or like some guys would stand up and turn their back to the ring, like on the phone, or like talking to the guy next to him. But it was just that was kind of like his own show for people watching at home, watching people ringside. And some people were upset on social media. They should put fans ringside. But I mean, like if they're paying millions of dollars to put a show on, of course they can sit ringside. They can sit anywhere they want in the whole damn place.
Sure, exactly. And that was another thing. That was another thing that you noticed. That's I'm looking around and seeing what similarities there are between their culture and ours, and what differences are. But I'll tell you one thing, just exactly like we have over here. Man, they are on their cell phones constantly. Everybody over there has a cell phone. They're either taking selfies or they're talking or they're texting or whatever. Everybody there is on the cell phone all the time.
I know you got there Thursday. So did you go out to dinner? I know it was a huge dinner for a lot of the WWE.
The hotel. I mean, we didn't even have to leave our hotel. Our hotel. The dinner started at like 7:00. JR and I got there maybe about 5:30 in the afternoon on Thursday. Excuse me. And you just went up, kind of unpacked a little bit, and then you came down, and dinner was starting. When I say dinner, they just had this big layout, man. I guess you would call it sort of like a buffet. It was just like if you can imagine the biggest buffet at any casino you've ever been to, every kind of food you can think of. And that was another thing that I was really leery of. On the way from the airport to the hotel. This and another thing. I mean, it just looked like you picked up in a nice like it wasn't a limousine. It was like a big, nice SUV. Picked JR and I up, and the guy was real friendly, but he didn't speak any English at all. But he kept looking back and smiling. And their interstates, I mean, the roads look just like they do here. You drive, the cars have the steering wheel on the left side, just like we do. It wasn't like being in Europe where you drive on the wrong side of the road or anything.
Right.
Just like here. So that was reassuring. And then all of a sudden we're driving along, and I see a McDonald's. And I said, "Oh, McDonald's! I could live here. I can make it. I could do that." And then, but the one thing that you notice immediately is no grass. There's no, there's everything is brown, and I mean, because I guess you're in the middle of the desert or whatever. But there's just, there's the only greenery is the tops of palm trees, and but man, their homes, they live in a lot of these big compounds that I guess hold an entire extended family or whatever that live in these big homes that are just so opulent. And I mean, you can tell it's a very rich country over there. But anyway, we got there, and then the food is what I was really worried about. But it was amazing. Everything you could think of. I mean, just amazing. All sorts of seafood, fish, crab legs, lobster, and they would prepare it for you right there, or they had it already made, and just all of this great food, steaks, everything was out there. And it started at 7:00, and it stayed out. You could eat until 11 p.m. And trust me, that the three of us that kind of hung out together was me, JR, and Paul Heyman. And trust me, Paul ate from 7 to 11.
Oh, come on.
Oh, my goodness, man. He was really putting it away. He really was.
A lot of people were wondering if Paul was to make the trip since he's Jewish.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people were saying, oh, Paul's not going to be. There's a lot of false information being spread around. This is probably the biggest event.
Imagine that, false information on the internet. I can't believe it.
Everybody was wrong, from Dave Meltzer to all the dirt sheets. I mean, people reporting wrong things throughout the week. I mean, this is probably the biggest event when it comes to like people spoiling stuff. There were no spoilers, and a lot of the people reporting stuff were completely wrong,
right?
Throughout the weekend. So it was, people were reporting stupid stuff.